The vast training grounds of Xerath Academy stretched as far as the eye could see. Massive towers of black steel rose toward the sky, and everywhere the sound of metal clanging echoed. Alien cadets of all shapes and sizes moved across the arena, carrying heavy weapons or practicing intricate combat drills. Each species had its own way of training, but Xerath Academy demanded the same of everyone: strength, skill, and survival instincts. At the center of it all, the new recruits had assembled in a long line. The tallest were nearly 3 meters high, with thick carapaces that glimmered under the sun. Others had long limbs that could stretch farther than a human's arm, or eyes that glowed in shifting colors. And then, standing quietly in the middle, was Lena Hart, a human girl from Earth. Lena was small, her frame was thin, her muscles not as defined as the aliens. Her hair was short and brown, her eyes steady and focused. She looked out of place, and the others noticed immediately. Whispers began almost as soon as she stepped onto the field. "Look at her," hissed a green-skinned recruit with 4 eyes. "Does she even lift weights? She'll get squashed in the first drill," another snickered, tentacles twitching nervously. Even the instructors turned their heads, curious at the audacity of placing a human among the galaxy's fiercest cadets. Humans were the newest species in interstellar history. They had only just begun exploring other systems, and most aliens still believed they were soft, weak, and fragile. Lena didn't answer. She kept her eyes forward, her hands clasped behind her back. She did not flinch. She did not smile. She simply watched. The Academy commander, a tall being covered in silver armor, stepped forward. His voice boomed across the line of recruits. "Welcome to Xerath Academy. Here, only the strongest survive. You will be tested, pushed, and challenged. Many of you will fail, and some," he paused, glancing at Lena, "will surprise us." The other recruits snorted. A few laughed openly, pointing at Lena. She felt the weight of their eyes, their disbelief, their judgment, but she did not let it bother her. The first test was simple on paper, a basic strength and agility course. Trainees would carry heavy weights, dodge swinging pendulums, and climb a high tower. Most aliens saw it as easy. They were built for this. But for Lena, the difference was enormous. She was lighter, weaker in muscle, and slower in reach. She took a deep breath and stepped forward. The green-skinned alien who had mocked her whispered, "She'll be the first to fail." His friends nodded, their laughter quiet but cruel. Lena ignored them. She focused on the course. The first obstacle was a weight lift. Lena strained but managed to lift the barbell, heavier than anything she had carried on Earth. Her arms shook, and sweat dripped down her forehead. The aliens nearby barely lifted a finger. They barely understood the effort it took her. Next came the swinging pendulums. The metal rods swung back and forth at high speed, designed to knock down weaker trainees. Lena dodged and ducked, timing each move carefully. She was slower than the aliens, but her timing was precise. One swing would have knocked out someone clumsy, but she didn't falter. Finally, the climb. The tower was massive, taller than any building on Earth. Its walls were slick, with few handholds. The aliens soared upward, using their long limbs or sticky pads. Lena had none of those advantages. She had only her hands, her feet, and her determination. Step by step, she climbed. She fell once, scraping her knee, but she kept going. At the top, she took a deep breath, looking down at the recruits below. They stared at her with wide eyes. Many had expected her to collapse halfway. Yet she had reached the top. Her chest heaved, but she smiled faintly, a small, quiet victory. A sudden silence spread across the academy grounds. Even the mocking whispers were gone. That silence was broken by a slow, deep voice. It carried across the field, heavy and commanding. Interesting. All heads turned to see General Vorak step forward. He was a legend, known as the apex predator of the galaxy. His species had dominated countless battlefields, feared for their skill, strength, and intelligence. Vorak's body was massive, covered in thick scales that shimmered in sunlight. His eyes were sharp, calculating, and glowing with a golden hue. When he looked at you, it felt like he could see every thought in your mind. He stopped in front of Lena, crouched slightly to meet her gaze. His voice was calm but carried weight. "Human, show me how you survive." The other recruits laughed nervously. Many whispered among themselves. No human had ever stood in the training arena without fear. And no human had ever faced Vorak himself. Lena straightened her back. She didn't flinch. She didn't bow. She simply nodded. Vorak circled her slowly, watching her every move. "You rely on speed and timing," he observed. "But can you adapt when faced with true strength?" He raised his arm, and in an instant, he lunged forward with blinding speed. Lena barely moved her feet in time to dodge, rolling aside with careful precision. The ground shook where he landed. The other recruits gasped. None of them had ever seen a human move so quickly against a predator of his level. Another strike, this time from a different angle. Lena dodged again. Her movements were not strong. Not flashy but calculated. Every step, every twist, every duck was deliberate. She was learning, adapting, surviving. Vorak's eyes narrowed. He increased his strength, testing her further. A strike aimed to topple her completely came closer than she had hoped. But Lena used the momentum to flip over and land behind him. The other recruits were silent. Some of the mockers looked shocked, unable to hide their surprise. Vorak stopped suddenly and studied her. "You are different," he said, almost to himself. "I expected weakness, but I see strategy, calculation, and courage. You are not like the others." Lena's chest heaved, sweat running down her face. "I do not rely on strength alone," she said quietly, almost as if stating a fact. "I watch. I adapt. I survive." Vorak tilted his head, as if considering her words. Then, in a voice loud enough for the entire field to hear, he said, "Let the Academy witness this. Humans are not weak. This one shows instincts of survival and combat that surpass what many aliens possess." The crowd of cadets erupted in whispers. Many stared at Lena with new eyes. Some were impressed. Others could not believe what they had just seen. One alien recruit, the green-skinned one who had mocked her, stumbled back. She survived Vorak," he muttered. She actually survived him?" Lena didn't reply. She simply wiped her brow and stood tall. She felt no fear, only focus. She had survived not by strength, but by understanding, by thinking ahead, by staying calm. Vorak studied her one last time. "I will personally oversee your training. You may be small, human, but your mind is a weapon. The galaxy underestimates humans at their own risk." The other recruits still whispered, unsure how to react. Many had trained for years, yet here was a human outperforming expectations in her very first day. Lena's heart raced, not with fear, but with a strange, new pride. For the first time, she felt the truth. Strength is not always measured by size, muscle, or raw power. Sometimes it is measured by courage, intelligence, and the will to survive. As the sun set over the massive towers of Zareth Academy, Lena stood quietly in the training grounds. The mocking voices were gone. The laughter had vanished. In its place was a new feeling among the cadets. Respect, and in the shadows, General Vorak observed her, silently acknowledging something he had not seen in decades. A human could be more than expected. A human could be dangerous. A human could survive where others failed. The day ended. But for Lena Hart, the real journey was only beginning. The Academy would continue to push her, challenge her, and test her in ways she could not yet imagine. But she was ready. She was human, and humans survive. And somewhere deep in the heart of Zareth Academy, the apex predator smiled just a little. For the first time in a long time, he was curious to see what a human could truly do. The sun rose over Zareth Academy, casting long shadows across the training grounds. Lena Hart had barely slept. Her first day had been grueling, but it had ended with something she never expected. The attention of General Vorak, the apex predator of the galaxy. Most recruits would have trembled under his gaze, yet Lena felt something else. Curiosity. Determination. A challenge she could meet. By morning, the academy was buzzing. News of Lena's performance had spread like wildfire. The alien recruits whispered in every corner, exchanging theories. Some doubted the human could truly match an apex predator, while others began to wonder if humans had been underestimated all along. Lena entered the main training hall, where the vast arena stretched like a battlefield. Vorak waited in the center, his massive frame imposing and still. His golden eyes glimmered as he watched the trainees enter. Lena approached quietly, feeling the weight of expectation, but her steps were steady. "Human," Vorak said, his voice calm but deep enough to carry across the hall. "Today, you will face a new test. Not just strength or speed, but adaptability. Can you survive what I throw at you?" Lena nodded. She did not speak. Words were not needed. Her actions would speak for themselves. Vorak gestured, and the arena shifted. Walls rose from the ground, platforms appeared in mid-air, and obstacles swung from the ceiling. It was no ordinary course. It was a simulation of a battlefield, designed to challenge not just the body, but the mind. The other recruits watched from above, their seats high on a gallery. Many whispered, doubting Lena's ability to handle what had challenged elite cadets for years. But Lena stepped forward without hesitation. Her eyes scanned the shifting arena, memorizing patterns, angles, and timing. Vorak moved beside her. "Observe," he said. Then, with a motion of his massive arm, he unleashed the first challenge. A sweeping energy barrier that moved in irregular patterns. Most cadets would have been forced to jump or dodge blindly. Lena crouched low, timing each step, letting the barrier pass just inches above her head. Her heart raced, but she did not panic. Every movement was calculated. "Interesting," Vorak murmured. "You do not rely on reflex alone. You think ahead. Most species forget to plan under pressure." The next obstacle came a set of swinging plasma blades. They were unpredictable, powered by shifting energy cores that spun at different speeds. Many cadets had been cut down in training by these blades. Lena timed her jumps, ducking and sliding beneath each one. At one point, a blade missed her by mere centimeters. She rolled, using the momentum to leap over the next swing. The gallery went silent. Even the once mocking recruits couldn't hide their surprise. Some of the alien cadets leaned closer, eyes wide, whispering among themselves. Did she just dodge that?" A small blue-skinned recruit muttered. "She's human," another replied. "Maybe they are not as weak as we thought." Vorak's eyes never left her. "You are fast." "Yes. But can you adapt when I change the rules?" Before Lena could respond, the arena shifted again. Platforms rose and fell unpredictably, creating gaps she had to leap over. Energy turrets activated in random patterns, forcing her to dodge, duck, and sometimes run backward. Many cadets would have panicked, overwhelmed by the chaos. Lena, however, kept her focus. She moved calmly, analyzing the new threat patterns and adjusting her timing. Her small frame, which had once been mocked as a weakness, now gave her an advantage. She could slip between gaps, too narrow for larger cadets. She could duck under barriers too low for alien species with tall frames. Each obstacle that would have slowed or stopped others, she passed with careful precision. Vorak watched intently, his golden eyes narrowing. "Not only does she survive, she thrives," he muttered under his breath. The final test came a predator simulation. A massive robotic apex predator was released into the arena. Its claws were sharp, its movements fast, its sensors designed to detect any cadet's heartbeat. Most recruits froze at the sight. A few tried to fight it head-on, only to be knocked aside by its powerful strikes. Lena did not hesitate. She watched its movements carefully, noting the rhythm and predicting where it would strike next. She ran in short, calculated bursts, dodging its attacks while staying close enough to bait mistakes. When the predator lunged, she sidestepped, letting it crash into a platform. She used its momentum to vault over its back, landing on the other side safely. The crowd gasped. This was not just a cadet surviving a simulation. This was a human, outsmarting a predator designed to kill elite trainees. Vorak's deep voice echoed through the hall. Stop the simulation. The predator froze instantly. He turned to Lena, studying her closely. You are exceptional. I have seen cadets of my species fail at this. And yet, you adapt and survive. Most humans would have panicked. Not you. You calculate. You predict. You overcome. Lena's chest heaved, sweat dripping down her face. She felt the strain of the test, but also a strange sense of pride. For the first time, she felt that her species' potential, often underestimated, was visible. Tell me, human, Vorak said, lowering his massive frame to sit on the ground. How do you survive when others fall? How do you think under pressure that none of the galaxy's strongest can match? Lena thought for a moment. She remembered Earth storms that tore through cities, predators that stalked humans, disasters that demanded quick thinking. Survival had always required adaptability. Humans learned to read the environment, improvise, and endure. I observe, she said quietly. I watch what is around me. I think about what will happen next. I do not rely on strength alone. I rely on my mind. And I adapt. Vorak tilted his head, impressed. Yes. The galaxy has ignored this for too long. Humans survive in ways others cannot. Strength alone is not enough. Adaptability, strategy, courage. These are weapons of survival. You, human, embody them. The other recruits, once mocking, now stared in awe. Whispers spread through the gallery. She actually outsmarted a predator. I thought she would fail immediately. How can one human do this? Vorak rose, towering over Lena. I will personally train you. If you continue like this, you may be among the greatest warriors the galaxy has ever known. But you must remember, survival is not just about skill. It is about observation, patience, and courage. Lena nodded. She did not need to speak more. Her actions would continue to prove her worth. Days passed under Vorak's watchful eye. Training became more intense. But Lena began to shine. She learned techniques no human had ever tried, using momentum from obstacles to leap higher, calculating angles for precision strikes, predicting enemy behavior from subtle clues. Other recruits started noticing. A few approached her, asking questions about her methods. Slowly, respect grew where mockery had once ruled. A green-skinned alien who had been one of her harshest critics approached her one day. I don't understand how you do it, he admitted. You're small, weak by our standards. Yet, you survive every challenge. Lena smiled faintly. Strength is not everything. Observation and strategy, they matter more. Anyone can learn, if they watch carefully. Even Vorak, normally stoic and indifferent, allowed a faint expression of approval. You teach others by example, human. This is unusual. Most species need constant supervision. You inspire others without trying. This is a rare trait. But challenges continued. Vorak introduced new tests every day. Combat against multiple opponents, survival in extreme environments, and mental simulations designed to confuse and distract. Lena adapted to each, learning not just to survive, but to excel. One evening, after a long day of training, she sat quietly under the stars. The academy towers loomed around her, glowing softly in the moonlight. Her body ached, but her mind was alive with ideas. She thought of Earth, of her family, of every challenge she had overcome. She realized something. Her species had been underestimated, not because of weakness, but because aliens had never seen humans in a real fight for survival. And now, they would. Vorak approached quietly, his massive footsteps almost silent. "You have potential, human," he said, "greater than I imagined. If you continue, you may change how the galaxy sees humans entirely. But remember, others will watch. Some will respect you, some will fear you, and some will try to stop you." "I am ready," Lena said, her voice steady. "I will survive, no matter what." Vorak's golden eyes gleamed. "Good. Survival is only the beginning. Humans do not just survive. They endure. They adapt. And when needed, they conquer." As he turned to leave, Lena watched him. She felt a strange connection to the apex predator, the ultimate warrior of the galaxy recognizing her potential. It was not fear, not intimidation. It was respect. The next morning, a new announcement came. The Academy had received intelligence of a hostile alien fleet approaching the outer territories. Vorak's pupils would be needed in simulations, and perhaps in real combat soon. The whispers among the cadets turned into excitement and nervousness. Lena felt her heart quicken. Her training had prepared her for simulations, for tests, but now the stakes might be real. And in the midst of it all, Lena felt a single truth settle in her mind. Humans had always survived against impossible odds. Now, in the galaxy's most dangerous arena, they would prove it again. The mocking voices that had once surrounded her were gone. In their place was anticipation, respect, and fear, the same emotions that humans had learned to use as tools against challenges much greater than themselves. Lena Hart, the human recruit, laughed at on her first day, was no longer just a student. She was becoming a force the galaxy would not ignore. And somewhere in the Academy, General Vorak smiled faintly, curious to see what the human would do next, because he knew one thing for certain: when humans are underestimated, they become unstoppable. The days passed at Zareth Academy, and Lena Hart's presence became impossible to ignore. The alien recruits, once mocking her small size and human frailty, now watched her with a mixture of awe, curiosity, and unease. Word had spread across the Academy. A human had survived the apex predator's test. Not just survived, she had outsmarted it. Training had intensified. General Vorak's personal guidance pushed Lena harder than she had ever been pushed in her life. Every day was a new challenge. Combat against multiple opponents, surviving in extreme environmental simulations, and testing mental endurance under conditions that would break most cadets. Lena met each test with focus and determination. But it was not only her skill in combat that impressed the Academy. It was the way she observed, learned, and adapted. She had a method the aliens had never seen. She watched everything, analyzed every weakness, and turned obstacles into advantages. One afternoon, Vorak gathered the trainees in the main arena. The air was tense with anticipation. "Today," he said, his golden eyes scanning the crowd, "we will conduct a team strategy exercise. Human, you will lead a squad. Show us what you have learned, not just fighting, but thinking, planning, and surviving." The cadets around Lena exchanged nervous glances. Leading a squad of alien warriors was no simple task. Many were taller, stronger, and more experienced. Some still doubted that a human could manage them effectively. Lena stepped forward calmly. Her eyes scanned the recruits. "We will work as a team," she said softly. But her voice carried authority. "Strength is not enough. Observation, timing, and cooperation will win this exercise. Follow my lead, and we survive. Fail to cooperate, and we lose." A few scoffed. One four-armed alien muttered, "A human leading me? This will be entertaining." Lena ignored him. She had faced mockery before. She had learned that words were powerless if one's actions were strong. The arena was transformed into a simulated battlefield. Smoke rose from artificial fires, barriers shifted unpredictably, and robotic enemies patrolled in unpredictable patterns. Most cadets hesitated, unsure where to move first. Lena assessed the layout, quickly forming a plan. "Two of you flank left," she instructed calmly. "Watch for movement near the towers. One with me will draw attention from the center. Keep your eyes on my signals." The squad followed, hesitating at first, but gradually moving in sync with her instructions. Lena's strategy was simple yet effective. Use speed, deception, and positioning to overcome opponents larger and stronger than themselves. The robotic enemies were fast, some programmed with adaptive learning algorithms. Most trainees struggled to keep pace. Lena moved fluidly, calculating angles, predicting attacks, and giving precise instructions. Every time a robot adjusted its path, she adapted immediately, keeping her squad ahead. By the end of the exercise, the human-led team had achieved a near-perfect result. The other squads had been beaten, confused, or trapped by the obstacles. Lena's team had not only survived, they had completed the objectives efficiently, using tactics no alien squad had considered. The gallery erupted in whispers. Some cadets stared in disbelief. Others nodded slowly, beginning to understand what humans could do. General Vorak, observing from above, descended to the arena floor. His massive frame moved with surprising grace. He studied Lena carefully, noting the calm precision of her commands, the sharpness in her eyes, and the quiet confidence in her demeanor. "You did well," Vorak said, "not because of raw power, but because of strategy. You see the battlefield as a whole, human. You think ahead, while others react. This is rare. Even among the apex predators of the galaxy, few can match it." A quiet murmur ran through the cadets. The apex predator of the galaxy, known for his brutal standards and unmatched skill, had just praised a human recruit. Some still struggled to comprehend it. Later, Lena walked among the recruits she had trained. The four-armed alien who had mocked her approached cautiously. I don't understand," he said slowly. "How can someone so small and seemingly weak manage to outsmart the strongest cadets? We rely on strength, on instinct. You rely on thinking?" Lena smiled faintly. "Strength is important," she said, "but thinking, observing, and adapting these matter more. If you watch, learn, and move carefully, you can survive against anyone, no matter their size." Others began asking questions. Lena explained how humans learned to survive on Earth, enduring harsh climates, evading predators, and thriving in environments where few species could. Every challenge humans had faced over millennia had taught them to adapt quickly and act decisively. Vorak observed quietly. He had known many species. Most relied on brute force or instinct. Few considered the battlefield as a constantly changing system. Humans, he realized, had been forged in adversity, and that made them uniquely dangerous. The next day, Vorak introduced an unexpected challenge. A realistic alien combat simulation. With multiple squads and unpredictable scenarios, it was designed to test coordination, leadership, and adaptability under extreme pressure. Lena's squad was placed in the most dangerous area, a dense, artificial forest filled with narrow pathways, hidden traps, and robotic predators. Other squads were scattered across open terrain, where strength and raw power were more effective. From the start, Lena's squad faced overwhelming challenges. The terrain restricted movement. The predators were fast, and the enemy squads moved strategically to cut them off. But Lena remained calm. She used the environment to their advantage, leading her team along paths where larger cadets could not follow, using obstacles to slow enemies, and predicting the paths of predators based on subtle patterns in their movements. The squad moved like a single organism, responding to Lena's commands before the robotic predators could react. When one member stumbled or faced danger, she was there immediately, guiding them, positioning them, and turning near failure into advantage. By the end of the simulation, Lena's squad had emerged as the top-performing team. They had not only completed their objectives, but had done so with minimal errors. demonstrating coordination, strategy, and adaptability far beyond what any other squad had shown. The other cadets stared in awe. Many who had mocked her before were now silent, some with a newfound respect, others with unease. Lena had proven that humans were not just survivors, they were thinkers, leaders, and unpredictable opponents. Vorak descended once more. His golden eyes studied Lena and her squad. "The galaxy underestimates humans," he said. "They are adaptable, patient, and clever. This human does not rely on brute force. She relies on her mind. And that is far more dangerous than mere strength." Lena's heart swelled with pride, but she remained humble. She knew this was only the beginning. There were countless challenges ahead, and the galaxy was full of species far stronger than humans in raw power. Yet she also knew something the aliens were only beginning to realize. Humans were resilient, unpredictable, and relentless. Over the next weeks, Lena continued to teach, lead, and inspire. Even the cadets who had initially doubted her began to follow her methods, learning to observe, adapt, and cooperate in ways they had never considered. One evening, while the academy was quiet, Vorak approached Lena as she trained alone. The stars reflected off his massive scales, casting faint golden light across the arena. "You are teaching them," he said, "not with words, but with actions. That is unusual. Few species inspire others without commanding them. Humans, you may be more than what the galaxy expects." "I just want to survive," Lena replied quietly, though her tone carried quiet confidence. "And help others survive too," Vorak nodded. "Survival is only the first step. Endurance, adaptation, and leadership. These are qualities that define empires. Human, you already have them. The galaxy will watch humans with fear and respect when they realize this." The Academy Day ended, but the sense of anticipation remained. An alert had been issued. A hostile alien fleet was detected near the outer territories. Simulations would soon become reality, and cadets would be tested not just in training, but in preparation for potential combat. The recruits whispered nervously. Lena felt a familiar thrill. Her training had prepared her for challenges, but real danger would test her mind and spirit in ways she had never imagined. As night fell, Lena stood quietly, looking out at the stars. She thought of Earth, of the storms, the predators, the challenges her species had faced for centuries, and she realized that all of it had prepared her for this moment. Humans had survived against impossible odds before. Now, in the galaxy's most dangerous academy, they would prove it again. The academy had changed around her. Where once she had been mocked, she was now respected. Where once the aliens doubted her, they now observed her carefully. The human cadet who had once been laughed at had become a symbol of human potential and adaptability. And somewhere in the shadows, General Vorak watched with interest. The apex predator had seen many warriors in his life, but Lena Hart, she was different. She was human. And humans, he realized, had a secret strength that no one could predict. A quiet thought crossed his mind. The galaxy had underestimated humans for far too long, and soon, everyone would learn just how dangerous they could be. The alarm blared across Zareth Academy, shattering the quiet of the night. Red lights flashed across the training halls and outdoor arenas. Recruits scrambled to their stations. Something was happening beyond the safety of simulations and drills. Lena Hart's heart raced not with fear, but with focus. Years of Earth's challenges had taught her one thing above all. In danger, panic was the enemy. Calm observation, quick thinking, and decisive action were survival. She raced toward the command center, dodging startled cadets. Her small frame moved quickly, weaving between larger aliens and fallen equipment. The hall was chaos, but Lena's mind was clear. At the command center, General Vorak stood tall, surveying the holographic display of the hostile fleet approaching the outer territories. Ships of unfamiliar design glinted red on the map, They were faster than anything the Academy had faced in simulations, armed with weapons capable of destroying multiple cadets at once. Vorak's voice, deep and commanding, carried across the room. This is not a drill. The fleet is real. Defense positions must be established. Recruits, follow instructions immediately. The cadets scrambled, but confusion spread quickly. Many had never faced anything real. Simulations could only prepare them so far. Panic began to rise. Lena stepped forward. "Listen," she said firmly. Her voice cut through the noise, commanding attention despite her small size. "We can do this. But only if we work together. Forget who is bigger, faster, or stronger. We survive by observing, adapting, and helping each other. Follow my lead, and we have a chance." Some of the cadets hesitated. A few of the taller, stronger aliens scowled, not used to taking orders from a human. But Lena did not falter. She moved quickly, assigning positions, giving clear instructions. "2 squads cover the perimeter," she said. "Flank from above and below. I'll lead the rapid response team. Watch my signals, adjust your movements, and stay in formation. We cannot afford mistakes." The Academy erupted into controlled chaos. Cadets moved as Lena had instructed, following her cues. Despite their size and strength, they realized her guidance was precise and practical. Outside, the alien fleet had reached the Academy's outer defenses. Their weapons fired energy beams, striking the perimeter. Many cadets froze. But Lena moved swiftly. Analyzing the trajectory and timing of the attacks, she pointed to weak points in the defenses. "Shift left. Use the terrain. Don't fight where they expect you." Her squad moved in perfect coordination. She led them through narrow paths and behind barriers, allowing them to dodge strikes that would have killed larger cadets. Her commands were clear and concise, but they carried power. Survival through strategy. General Vorak watched silently. He had faced countless battles, commanded legions, and never before seen a cadet manage an entire squad with such calm precision under real fire. His golden eyes followed Lena, calculating. Impressed, the hostile fleet advanced, unaware of the human's tactical mind. Lena noticed a pattern in their movements, a predictable sequence in their attacks. "Wait for it," she whispered to her team. "Now, move." In a coordinated strike, her squad used energy barriers as cover, maneuvered behind the enemy's weapons, and disabled several ships using precise targeting. Their small numbers and quick thinking gave them an edge over the larger, stronger fleet. The other cadets, inspired by Lena's leadership, began to follow her strategies, learning to anticipate attacks instead of reacting blindly. Slowly, the tide of the battle shifted. In the command center, Vorak finally spoke, his deep voice cutting through the tense atmosphere. "This human leads with more than skill. She inspires others. Humans survive because they do not rely solely on strength. They adapt, innovate, and endure. Watch carefully. Cadets, this is how survival becomes victory." The mockers from Lena's first day watched in stunned silence. The green-skinned alien who had once sneered at her whispered, She's saving us all." Others nodded slowly, fear giving way to respect. Lena's mind worked quickly. She coordinated defense and offense simultaneously. Small teams blocked enemy attacks, while others disabled their ship's weapon systems. She anticipated moves, redirected resources, and even used the fleet's overconfidence against them. "Flank the left wing," she commanded. "Draw their attention, then circle behind them. Timing is everything." Her squad executed flawlessly. The alien fleet, once confident, now struggled to respond. Lena's small human team moved like a single unit, each member trusting her judgment completely. Suddenly, a large ship broke through the outer barrier, heading straight for the Academy. Panic rippled through the cadets. Many froze, unsure how to respond. Lena's eyes narrowed. "Cover me, I'll draw it into the trap." She darted forward, small and agile, drawing the enemy's attention. Using the terrain, she led the ship into a narrow canyon, created by the Academy's defense systems. Its weapons fired wildly, unable to track her precise movements. At the last moment, her squad struck from both sides, disabling the ship and forcing it to retreat. The other cadets cheered quietly, awe replacing fear. Vorak, standing at the command center, allowed a rare expression of approval. "Humans," he said softly, almost to himself. "They are underestimated. Always. They survive against impossible odds because they adapt, think, and endure." The battle continued into the night. Lena's guidance kept the cadets organized and effective. She moved quickly from team to team, giving instructions, adjusting strategies, and predicting enemy attacks. Each victory was small but cumulative. By dawn, the hostile fleet had retreated, confused and beaten by a force they had thought inferior. The Academy grounds were quiet again. Exhausted cadets collapsed on the ground, breathing heavily. Lena stood among them, her body tired but her mind sharp. She looked around at the recruits she had trained, their eyes filled with admiration and respect. The green-skinned alien from before approached her slowly. I underestimated you," he admitted. "You're human, and you led us to victory." Lena smiled faintly. "Strength matters, yes. But strategy, observation, and teamwork matter more. We survive because we adapt." Other cadets nodded, understanding dawning on their faces. They realized that humans were not weak. They were survivors, thinkers, and leaders, capable of inspiring and guiding even the strongest alien warriors. Vorak approached Lena. His massive frame towered over her, but his tone was calm, respectful. "You have proven something today that no one in the Academy believed possible," he said. "Humans are not just survivors, they are leaders, innovators, and a force to be reckoned with. Your actions will be remembered." For the first time, Lena felt truly acknowledged, not just as a recruit, but as a representative of her species. Humans, small and underestimated, had shown the galaxy their potential. And in that moment, the apex predator of the galaxy, the one feared by all, had recognized their strength. Lena glanced around at the cadets, many of whom had once mocked her. They now looked at her with respect, understanding, and even awe. She realized something important. Respect is earned not by size, strength, or intimidation, but by actions, courage, and the ability to endure. The Academy commander, watching from above, nodded in approval. "The galaxy underestimated humans," he said quietly. "No longer. Today, one human proved what an entire species could accomplish." Lena walked through the Academy grounds, exhausted but proud. She had survived tests, simulations, and now a real threat. She had led, inspired, and protected others. She was small, yes, but her mind and courage had proven larger than any alien could have imagined. And in the shadows, General Vorak watched her once more. His golden eyes gleamed with a rare approval. He had seen countless warriors, species that prided themselves on strength and ferocity. Yet Lena Hart, a human, had shown him something he had not expected: true adaptability, calm under pressure, and the ability to inspire others in the face of overwhelming odds. Vorak spoke quietly, almost to himself. "The galaxy has underestimated humans for far too long, but not anymore." As dawn broke over Zareth Academy, the recruits began to whisper among themselves. The human cadet who had once been laughed at had become a symbol. She had shown that humans were more than small, weak, or fragile. They were cunning, adaptable, and unstoppable when they put their minds to it. Lena Hart stood quietly, looking at the rising sun. She thought of Earth, her family, and everything her species had survived over millennia. She realized one simple truth: humans endure, humans adapt, and humans survive. And now, the galaxy knew it too. The mocking had ended. The doubt had vanished. The moment had come when the Academy, the apex predator, and even the most skeptical cadets finally understood. Never underestimate a human. And Lena Hart, once the human recruit laughed at, had become the proof.